Hi, everyone. My name is Lydia Martinez. I am here with Cali Warner. Um, Cali Warner owns Cali Warner Media and also Capture Haus, and is one of our strategic partners here at L Marketing. She handles all of our photography and videography for our clients, and we've loved working with her. We've worked with her for well over 2 years now, and today I invited her on to talk about food photography for beginners. You know, we work with a lot of restaurant clients at L Marketing and Restaurant Owners Marketing Academy. We work with a lot of people that are in the food world or have food brands. And so I thought that it would be really useful because very often early on brands can't afford professional photography. They're kind of taking some of their own photos. And so we want to set you up to be successful so that we can then turn around and get you ready for the next level, for when you are ready to hire a marketing agency, when you are ready to hire a professional photographer. Cali, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, Cali, let's start with just a little bit of your background and your story. How did you become an expert in food photography?
Yeah, I used to be a corporate health coach, and I'd work with companies with thousands of people, learning how to get healthy, and I was struggling back in 2010 era where there was no good looking food images of healthy food, and I was really sick of like trying to motivate people to eat healthy, and I was like, here's this recipe and it looks like garbage. Here you go. So I ended up picking up a camera and just actually like straight photographing food in my house and just practicing and taking, courses and learning as much as I could. And that was back in the day when there was not much. Now it's everywhere. Now there's beautiful food images to take advantage of. But it's really been, a road of, like my background started always in food. And it's been my original love with my camera.
Amazing. So Kelly, talk to us a little bit about some of the common pitfalls that people make when they're taking their own food photography.
Yeah, that's great. And when we're talking about beginner food photography, you're probably not picking up a fancy DSLR. You're probably not having fancy lighting and putting a lot of energy in that. Yes. So it's amazing how good smartphones are these days, where you can put it in portrait mode and get away with a lot more. So put your phone in portrait mode, and really, like, food is served in warm ambient lighting, right? We want like the feeling when you're in a restaurant, you have that warm tungsten light, but for photos, you want to get away from that. So seeing where that orange light is in the restaurant or in the wherever you're at, and moving towards the window first of all. The other pitfall I see is just taking photos with whatever around, and I like to say it's not just what's in your image, it's what's not in your image. So you want to be very particular about moving away, like, napkins and just, plastic forks and spoons and whatever else is laying around. You really want to highlight the food. You want to make it the hero. So a lot of times I'll see beginners take photos and I'm like, what am I supposed to be looking at in this image? What is my eye supposed to be going toward? So remember, what is your hero, and move everything out that doesn't support it. Support the story.
What is it that you actually want to tell people to come in and eat? Going along with that, Callie, another pitfall that I see a lot of times with photos that are just kind of snapped in is they'll take their camera and they'll do their photo from directly above the food, laying their camera flat and shoot it that way. And one of the things that I love to tell people is shoot from a 45-degree angle down. That's how people actually look at food. When you think about food laid out on a table in front of you, you look down at it. And so our brains are very trained to think that's appealing. Now, food shots taken from above, they can look great if they're staged properly. But for beginners, think about how people are going to see it presented on the table.
Yeah, that's a great point. And when it comes to angles, I always like to say, think about, um, what item you're photographing. If it's something that's beautifully stacked high, you're going to want to go straight on. If it's something that, like you said, like you're just eating this beautiful acai bowl or something like that, you're going to want to go for 45-degree. And then if it's presented where it's laid out, it's very like a flat dish, then yeah,
A
you can go
carpaccio
over.
or something. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But just thinking about, how can I highlight this food, like stacking it up high, like if it's a burger, I always will go like directly towards it on a 0-degree angle.
Yeah. Um, so just to recap a couple of the things that we've talked about so far, consider your lighting, especially if it's dark in your restaurant. Go towards the windows, open the shades, try and get some natural soft light in there. Don't shoot under the orange lights of the restaurant. It will oversaturate your food and it actually will look not natural. Another one was consider your angles. And then we also touched on consider what's in the background. I can't tell you how many food shots I've seen of restaurants where like there's the photo of the food and the food looks great, but there's an unbussed table in the background or something. And so really think about what's going on in the background, what people are going to see and observe, and things like that. So from there, let's talk about a few tips for kind of staging food.
Yeah, that's great. I always like to ask what is part of this dish. So if I'm highlighting a dish, I'm going to ask, is there garnishes that I can bring out of the kitchen? Is there, cilantro or rosemary, or is there like, berries on this dish that I can bring more out of the kitchen and kind of put that around this dish to highlight it?
Yeah.
If it's drinks, I'll want to bring out some main ingredients or, the alcohol bottle to kind of highlight in the background, kind of a thing.
We have a client that does great margaritas, and it is phenomenal to be able to show like the salt that goes on the rim and the limes and the like their signature tequila, things like that.
Yeah, exactly. And, I bring backgrounds to my food photography shoots because I don't know sometimes what will be there and if it's, appetizing looking. So I'll think about the brand, of the client and then bring backgrounds that have texture and that maybe that color, and set it up so that, I am not having to deal with, unbussed tables in the background, for
Yeah.
example. And it can really highlight. So if you're a beginner, you want to get some food backdrops, like replica services is great. Ericsson backdrops are great. Lucy Capture by Lucy are great. So you can always grab a few backgrounds for under $100 or so and just have them ready. And that could be a theme that matches your brand, something that goes consistent throughout your feed.
Well, and one of the challenges I think sometimes with tables in restaurants, a lot of times they're very brown. And food does not necessarily look great sitting on a very brown table. Again, it brings out some of those oranges. It tends to oversaturate the food, depending on the plating and things. And so it just looks less appetizing overall a lot of times, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Like the brown tables plus the orange lighting plus dark. It may be great in person like that, but not for photos. And it gets really contrasty and, hard light with hard shadows. And typically food photographs really well with diffused light, really light and airy, like so you can see what it is, more appetizing that way.
So let's talk about the bane of every food photographer's existence, which is all brown foods.
Uh-huh.
Stew, chili, things like that that taste delicious. We love them, but they are so brown. How
Yeah.
do you make all brown foods look appetizing?
There's a couple, that's a really good question. Like, I would say, first of all, keep in mind, and you don't have to go crazy, but a lot of these big brands, food photography, a lot of it is fake. Okay. So we're doing a lot of manipulation and editing and shooting to make it look that way. So, what I would say is, contrasting colors. So get it off the brown table. If it's a brown food, you want to layer it with something light. If you have a white background or even like a white poster board or something that you can have in your restaurant and just have it, there with you so you can layer, it can be more contrasted.
Yeah.
The other thing is, again, pull it towards the window, have natural light so that yellow isn't contrasting off the brown. And then if there are garnishes that you can bring out, don't be afraid to like bring out ingredients that are in the dish, even though they may not be served with it, because it will just make it look more appetizing.
Yeah, I love sprinkles of parsley, chives, a drizzle of like a crema of some sort, a dollop of sour cream, some grated cheese on top, a piece of like a piece of toast on the side of the bowl, things like that. The other thing to keep in mind, like when we're like you said, Kelly, you're staging food. You're not plating it to be eaten. You're plating it to be seen. And so a lot of times if it's a stew or something, we might hand select the pieces and hand stack them in the bowl, even sometimes on top of wooden blocks or something, so that they stand up just a little bit so that you can see like the white of the potatoes, some orange carrots, and it doesn't just look like a mess of brown. Oh, it looks like Kelly just froze for a second. Hopefully we're going to get her back. But some other things that when we're looking at staging food, food is also an active thing. Like eating is active. And so for us, one of the things that's really important is sometimes showing people sprinkling parsley or squeezing a lime or grabbing a chip and dipping it in queso and that long stringy thing that you've got going, and actually putting that out there, showing that action or that feeling of eating, is really, really helpful as well. When you're doing that, though, make sure, and I've seen this countless times, where you've got like messy hands, dirty fingernails, things like that. So whenever I go to photo shoots, I always make sure to have either like really clean nails or a really nice manicure. Having some jewelry on the hands that's simple and not all that ostentation is also good if you're going to have hands in the shots. Things like that do make a difference. And then finally, the last thing that I wanted to touch base on, and hopefully Callie can rejoin us, is a little bit of food videography. And again, you can use your phone for this. If you're shooting for Facebook, you might want to shoot horizontal. If you're shooting for Instagram, video for Instagram, TikTok, stories, things like that, you'll want to shoot like this. And so for video, even doing 8 to 30 seconds worth of video, slow motion, somebody sprinkling parsley on something or squeezing a lime or dipping a chip into some queso and pulling it out, pulling a piece of hot pizza, stirring something hot in a pot. Sometimes we'll even do videos of chefs like plating or preparing food, but sped up so that it's really, really fast. And that's something else that works quite nicely to kind of layer in or add in as part of your photo and video strategy. So those are a few different things, a few different tips. a few different ways to make an impact and really showcase your food and your food photography. Now, if you are ready to work with us on food photography strategy, content marketing, things like that, we'll actually help you create that photo strategy, help you create a list of the types of photos that you should have. We have a restaurant list where it's interiors, exteriors, action shots, shots of your chef, food photos, things like that we can get done in a couple of hours. Reach out. We'd be happy to help you create your strategy for your content and for your photography and videography. And then again, if you're hiring out marketing for this type of thing, you get an art director, you get a food stylist, and you also get the photographer. So please do reach out. We'd love to help you and your restaurant. Thanks so much for tuning in.